I'm Dilip Kamdar, and I have read your book. And I would say it is not a joy of crisis, it's a joy of reading.
Thank you.
And I can, without any hesitation, I would like to say that you are the Bhishma Pitama of fertilizer industry in India. And why that name has not caught on, I don't know, but it's going to do that. Sir, having worked with many different governments throughout the last 30 years of your career, I know that most of the time the people who sit in that decision making chair have their own, what is in it for me kind of a interest first. How could you get decisions to your liking out of them? We would learn to know something out of that.
You see, I have written there, in every government I had problem. There's no government where I didn't have problem. But ultimately, in every system, when they realize the contribution is much more than what they think is the problem, then everybody at least at that level, anybody who's there at that high level, ultimately looks interest of the country. Second interest comes, the other interests come later. And that's my experience if I'm able to convince that government it is the interest of the country, then ultimately they all have supported me, regardless of whatever color they were carrying. And interestingly, I always say, cooperatives have got 7 color flag. So for me, it doesn't matter which color I'm going. I can always have the cap of that color. And I can always place that color. So for me, it doesn't matter. I don't carry any ideology. I carry only one ideology. Whether it is interest of my farmer and to my cooperators and my nation. These things are very clear in my mind. Then for me, carrying anything, I can talk to so people simultaneously. One this party, one that party. Because in IFCO, we have election every 5 years. Right now, we have started our election. It happens always along with parliament. And we have all elected members who comes, 1,000 elected members, like your member of parliament. Then out of them, they elect 21 directors. And all them of different parties. And we run a commercial activity. So for me, when they sit on my board, it doesn't matter which party they belong to. All of them make them think it's only one. Right now you're sitting is the interest of the farmer, like who are the country.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I welcome you all to the second day of VLF 2024, India's first non-fiction literary festival and the largest in Central India in partnership with Maha Metro. We function on lines similar to other established literary festivals across the country, but with the difference that we have purely non-fiction authors here in action in Nagpur. So thank you all for being here today. This grand festival that brings together the fantastic minds of India is only possible because of our sponsors. I would like to thank all our sponsors for their unconditional support. VLF, in alliance with Maha Metro, is running a year-long hashtag contest. We would love it if you all take a picture of yourself reading while riding the metro and post it on any social platform and tag VLF and Maha Metro with the hashtag Read and Ride. The first prize is books worth 10,000 rupees and the second prize will be books worth rupees 5,000. We are also running another unique Make Your Own Bookmark contest. We have bookmarks available with us which we request you to collect and decorate it as per your wish. Click the picture, post it on any social platform and tag VLF and Maha Metro. Lucky winners will get a copy of a book featured at VLF which has been selected by our team. We begin our next session with another interesting biography, The Joys of Crisis by Dr. Arnab Mitra. The book is about how Mr. Uday Shankar Awasthi scripted the rise of IFCO, and today we are honored to have Mr. Awasthi himself here to talk about the book. Speaking to him will be Dr. Ashutosh Paturkar, Dean Academics at Green Heaven Institute of Management and Research. Ashutosh is the author of the book 5 Elements of Organizational Excellence. He is a consultant to many companies in the areas of marketing, strategy, and planning. He conducts training programs for several companies such as WCL and the Indian Railways. In his free time, he enjoys photography and painting. Dr. Uday Shankar Awasthi is the MD and CEO of Indian Farmers Fertilizers Cooperative, that is IFCO. A chemical engineer from the prestigious Banaras Hindu University, Dr. Awasthi is a world renowned professional and an authority in the global chemical fertilizer sector. With nearly 5 decades of experience, Dr. Awasthi has been instrumental in making IFCO a global leader in fertilizer production. Under his leadership, IFCO has made rapid strides on all fronts and has diversified into several sectors like general insurance, rural telephony, rural retail, SEZ, amongst others. Besides IFCO, Dr. Awasthi serves on boards of several Indian and global companies. Please put your hands together as I request Mr. Ashutosh to escort Mr. Awasthi to the stage for an illuminating and engaging session.
Good morning, everybody. It's really an honor and privilege to have with us somebody who is truly a global champion of farmers' interest. I wouldn't say anything less than that. And when I say that he's a global champion of farmers' interest, let me add to what has already been told by the anchor that the International Cooperative Alliance and the European Research Institute on Cooperative and Social Enterprises released its 2023 edition of the World Cooperative Monitor. And IFCO is the #1 company based in that. And this is just announced on Thursday. So another feather in your cap, sir. Thank you very much for joining us this morning here. We are truly honored to have you here and listen to you about your journey and more importantly, your contribution, which has been enriching the life of the farmers. Before we really move on, I want to tell you something about Dr. Awasthi himself. I'll read from the book itself. It's in his own words. I was born in a village. My father died when I was still a little boy, so I grew up with very little parental support. As a result, I always felt I was living on someone else's kindness. At the same time, we had the fortune of being quietly and intelligently guided by a woman of great foresight, my mother, Durgavati Awasthi. She made us what we are today. She allowed us to grow organically. My mother realized that I harbored a deep sense of sorrow of having to live without the protection of father in what was still a man's world. It was the deep sense of resentment that made me take command of whatever situation I found myself in and to give directions to others, regardless of their age and stature. I always felt I was born to lead, and I must lead from the front. As I grew older, I started refining and harboring my capabilities, but it was when I joined BHU and I realized the importance of my country and its farmers. I had found two causes that would remain my lifelong passion. I also realized within a few years of starting my professional life that I could achieve my dreams only on the platform of cooperatives. And that is what brings him here. Sir, we would certainly be interested in knowing the contributions that have come up from your mother, as you've rightly said, that she contributed a lot in the man's world then, and the leadership model that you learned at BHU. It was also the time when then Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri talked about the Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. So, your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, when I joined BHU, in fact, at that time Nehru was alive, and I joined BHU in '62, and we had a Chinese aggression at that time. That was my first year. And of course, in the book also you find that was a shocking thing for me, a 17-year-old boy who lived his childhood and was from adolescence age, was just joined the university, always believing that India is a great country. We got our independence through non-violence mean, and we could never realize that we have to also face a war. And that war we were defeated badly. So as a young boy, that had a great sorrow and empty feeling in me that our country, which is agriculture country, which is based on agriculture economy, based on non-violence struggle to achieve a mighty independence, was defeated by someone who had just got independence at the same time as we got. And that was the day when I decided that I must do something for my country. So in the book also I've given, there are two ways. Either do militarily or do through the soil. And I decided do through the soil. Go with the farmers, work for the farmers, do whatever it is possible at that time. And I that time realized as a chemical engineer, the dreams to come through can only happen through the plant nutrition, which is fertilizers. And gave all my life towards that cause to make India self-sufficient and food grain. And thus, when you are sufficient in your own requirement for the food, you will be sufficient militarily also. That is where we are now seeing India, a new India now, because of that thing which has started.
Yeah, that's a very amazing thing to know. Um, it was 1970s, which was a watershed period for the Indian fertilizers. And that was also the time when you were the member of the committee for the urea plant at Hazira. And subsequent, was that the defining moment of your career or your rejoining IFCO later?
No, I think my defining career itself was when I first decided in BHU that I will go only into fertilizer sector. And that's why after doing my chemical engineering, I kept on going around all the places where I could find job in fertilizer sector. And that's why I joined Shriram Fertilizer. I was trying Fertilizer Corporation of India. I was trying to get in somewhere where I could learn the tricks of the trade of making fertilizer and joined fertilizer sector. So I would say 1970 could be a defining stage in the sense that I had grown. By the time I had experience of making the plants, running the plants, and understanding the intricacies and how to make most of the things available in our country. Initially, the fertilizer plants had 95% imports from outside India. And today, now we have practically 100% production of all those equipments in India. So this is a gradual thing. So I would say the transformation into me was there, always there for this sector. And that was in 1962.
1962. Yeah.
That's the year I joined university, and that year I realized that our country had to face humiliation because we didn't have our own food grain. We were getting uh, under PL480, we were getting wheat from the US. And then we had this Chinese aggression on the border.
Right. This book, readers and everybody, I would like to tell, this book is a reference book as well as a textbook on strategic management. We just heard from him that it is not just about the plan, but setting up a plan, running up a plan, making optimum utilization of the plan, everything incorporated into that. And this is a wonderful book that's more of a book on strategic management. And when you're running so many things, more so when you're running a cooperative, you have to cut through the red tape to achieve the goals. So how did that happen? I mean, you have virtually done red tapeism away.
Well, while working in private sector, I worked for about 9 years in private sector. I started realizing by the time you grow, you start knowing more about not today. Today you have social media, you grow very fast. But our time, I'm saying, it was only a way of either knowing through the peers or knowing through your seniors or knowing through the people who are known in the industry. But I had started realizing where our economics is, our country's economics. Either something is owned by the government, which is public sector unit, or something is owned by the private, which is private sector unit. But cooperatives are the only instruments of economic activities which is owned by the members and can be managed by the members. So my interest was more on that economic activity where I could contribute the most. In government sector, your contribution is dependent upon the policy of the day, policy of the government, which could be in conflict with your own thinking. And in private sector, you have no right to think. You will only get the direction. Please don't mind the people from private sector, but it's obviously as a owner, as a shareholders, you look for the interest of your shareholder or a consumer, but you may get some idea from your employees, but you will treat employees as employees. But in cooperative sector, your contribution can be realized by the members and can be brought, can have trust on you and can go and look according to your point of view. So I always realize that if I have to make some major changes into the lives of the farmers, it should be made available in a manner that should be good for him and good for the soil, which I could do only in cooperative sector. I could not do in anywhere else.
And you have pan India presence, to say the least, because IFCO is present across the globe now. It's not just in the India, but across the globe. But you personally had to rather work even in the Nakshal infested areas as well. What was your experience there?
You see, there's a very interesting experience, I would say. Um, I was working in IFCO in middle management position, and I had just put up a plant in Amla at that time. And the government at that time wanted someone to head their public sector unit in Bihar. That had plant in Bihar, had one plant in UP, one plant in Rajasthan. So they wanted someone to help. And that time Rajiv Gandhi was Prime Minister, and he was looking for younger people. And it so happened that I was selected for a company called Pyrite Phosphate and Chemicals Limited in Bihar, where major unit was Bihar, and then one unit was in UP in Dehradun, and on the Masuri area, and one was in Sikar in Rajasthan. And I was at that time 41 years of age, and so I was selected and I was told to go and join. And when I was told to join, that same day in Parliament, a bill was passed to close that, that unit and retrench around all the people. And that was shocking for me as a young man, 41-year-old, who's going to become chairman of a company. I was public sector company, of course. I was that time working in IFCO, and I didn't want to go. But then I was got orders, no, you have to go because you cannot refuse now, you have accepted it. Anyway, I had to go, so I went there and I found that was the place was infested by Naxalites. It was completely ruined in the sense that pyrites were leaching into the soil. They had just made all the water full of sulfur, and it was completely devastated scene. So I decided I use my chemcanying and whatever knowledge I had acquired and talked to people how to make that plant. We found the solution. We got the Linde as a German technology supplier, but engineering was done by us. And then I invited Naxalites to come and talk to me. And there, everybody knew who was an Naxalite and who was not a Naxalite. It was part of the same system. Some were carrying the gun and some were living in the houses. But they were all part. So I said, they can come and have dinner with me, and I have no policeman, I have nobody, and practically I was nobody. And so they came, 5, 6 people came with the guns and all, and they could carry AK-47 or whatever automatic guns they could have. They could have everything. They could have, whatever you call, they had grenade, they had. So they came in the night, and I told them, this is my plan. This is what I want to do. This is what can take care of your water. This is what can take care of your granary. This is what so many jobs can be created. So much employment can happen. So much wealth can be generated here. So much poverty can be reduced. Now you tell me whether I should work here or not. And if you tell me I don't have to work, I will go back. And if you tell me I have to work, then I will like your cooperation. And they said, okay, they will tell me. So after 24 hours, the message came to me that I can work.
Amazing.
And that is where the first Indian phosphoric acid based sulfuric acid plant was put up by Indians, by Bihar people, by those Naxalites, by those people, successfully ran, had fertilizer produced there, and changed the whole economic scenario there. So my experience is people may have different approach. I don't say that my approach should always be right. Maybe I was lucky that I could get it through. Maybe it was not such a wide spread that it could not be controlled. But if you talk honestly and you work on that goal, my experience is you will always find cooperation. And if you have desire to work hard, because I always believe there is no substitute to hard work. Hard, honest, straightforward, transparent work is the key to success, to anywhere, any situation. This is what I would do.
I mentioned to you right in the beginning that this book is all about strategic management, and one of them is obviously the man management as well. So, handling the Naxalites is not a simple job. You did that amazingly. Not only that, got a productive work done from them, created employment over there. How could you manage that? I mean, even the trade unions also. You have done the same thing. You have managed to get the buy-in from the trade unions. Even the collective bargaining for 10 years, where the normal could have been 5 years, you have done it for 10 years.
You see, I have some advantage and some disadvantage. One advantage of mine is I have been grown up in a village. I have sat on a tatpatti one and rode by the sled. So I have no qualm about sitting with the farmer. And by way of education and by way of my overall, I would say, experience across the continent, I had the fortune of meeting the kings, the ministers, the prime minister, the president, and sat and had dinner with them. So I have no issue of communication with anyone. And I always believe that a consensus and taking to confidence everyone along when we are going. And that is what the cooperatives means. Finding cooperation and then working toward that goal in a seamless, straightforward, transparent manner is the key. So that is where the union also came. And we told them, I told them, okay, you have certain interests of certain group. I'm not representing any group. You can keep me as umpire, you can keep me as a referee, we will give a way. I don't belong to any group. I don't consider myself to be management. I don't consider myself to be non-management. I don't consider that you are not part of me. If you treat me as the one who will give justice to everyone, and that is something with which we will go along. And I have always tried to do that. There should be no justice to anybody. Everybody should get his equal share. That is how you divide. That is how it is. It has been successful wherever I have worked.
That's right, because there had been certain plants acquired by IFCO, and they had different trade unions. But all trade unions had different culture, but you integrated all of them together.
Yes. Because culture is it's a question of only economic activity. No? Culture is going through economic activity. Economic activity is not against any culture. So if you assimilate all of them, it's okay. You find a solution. And the same thing I have found whenever I went, to different places. It could be Senegal, it could be Oman, it could be Jordan, where we have put up the plant. We have taken those people into confidence. Their government, their people, every country has a different kind of social structure. Taking into consideration. So wherever you go, if you're going in that place, you have to first find out what the social structure is and how the social structure works. Within the social structure, you can make some changes, but you cannot change altogether if you have to do a business. So I'm not a revolutionary. I'm not carrying any simple ideology. I'm carrying only one ideology: how to run this plant successfully, economically, effectively.
Yeah, that's amazing. Another very interesting lesson here, that if there is economic activity, you do get a cooperation from most of the people. And that's another strategy that you have employed, not only in the country, but across the country as well. And as a leader, because leaders have to take many out of the box decisions as well, you have taken many out of the box decisions working across the globe. Which has been the most difficult, challenging, and rewarding out of the box decision?
There have been many challenging out of box decisions. I really cannot describe one, but I think the very most important and challenging box decision was when we have to get equipment. I mean, it looks very simple, but it's a very difficult, complicated system. We had ordered urea reactor on BHPV, Bharat Heavy Plate and Vessel. And BHPV was a militant CPM union. And they were on a strike. This reactor is about 200 millimeter thick. And it's a multi-wall, multi-layered equipment where the pressure is 250 kg of pressure, where reactor take place. And this reactor was to be assembled into 5 pieces. And then those 5 pieces have to be assembled together and then make the reactor. Our plant in Phulpur was waiting for this reactor. And the union in Hyderabad went on a strike, CPM. So they are saying that nobody can enter and nobody can bow. The complete ghetto. And that time, I somehow that contacted, that time I think CPM was being headed by Prakash Karat or someone like that. And I tried to contact him. I got the opportunity to meet him. And I said, please only do one thing. Allow your people for us 5 trucks to go, take them out and bring out in 12 hours. So 12 hours only, please allow our person to go and come. He allowed. So we first of all, we got those pieces out. Then I told our people, look at this way. Why can't we create a temporary workshop in our place? In Phulpur, this is a Phulpur. I said, take those, after all, what we do, we take 2 wagons, weld them, create a workshop there, put these reactors on the rail, on the jack, bring those one and get each one of them welded. And we got complete reactor welded at those places where we didn't have any experience. Let me tell you, the reactor is still running. So I think that was one thing where if any accident would have happened, would have been a disaster. That was the most difficult decision which I think I took. And the second decision, if you say really, is when we acquired the Paradeep plant, which was owned by a private sector,
Yes.
and I acquired that plant single-handedly without telling anyone, because if I tell anyone, then immediately that deed cannot be off. And I wanted to buy that plant because I was realizing that is the one thing which is our national asset. And that our national asset, if it is not saved, this will go to a completely into a situation where a big national asset is lost and we will be entirely dependent on foreign sources for supplying of our phosphatic fertilizers. So I asked the owner, how much is your own loan? He gave me a figure, 2,100 crore. I said, fine. How much you have put? 800 crore. I said, I'll give you 2,200 crore. If you agree to sign, please sign, I'll give you 1 hour. I'll give you money. And I took the plant. Then I called the board meeting and have this. When I took the board, I myself saw the plant was completely devastated. Let me tell you, the whole situation will retrieve in 2 years. Today it is the biggest fertilizer complex, the phosphatic fertilizer complex in the world.
Yes.
And countries, 20% of phosphate need is met by that plant. And not only that, after that, we went and acquired the 37% of mine concession in Jordan, from where we are getting the raw material. So India today is for next 100 years. At that time, phosphatic fertilizer, which you call DAP or NPK, were completely imported. Today you have a situation where you can dictate your own terms on that. So the second most important decision I took, and that time I had a lot of criticism. Everybody said that this will destroy IFCO is finished, co-operative, most wrong decision I've ever taken, but I was confident that first of all, I knew we can correct it. Second of all, I knew my colleagues have the capability to do it.
Amazing story. Because you have faced a lot of union hostility also over there. That also had happened. See, this is what really happens. One is why I again come back to, even at the cost of repetition, that the book is on the strategic management, is because you have to have the values. The first thing, The national asset should not go to somebody else. That was the value. A vision that this plant can be converted into something that will create a supply chain for the raw material that is required in the country which we are importing. And that's the kind of vision a revolutionary leader only can have. So I think you are continuously endorsing what I have said, that this is a book which is on this strategic management. Thank you, sir. Sir, what we have seen is that post-liberalization, there have been a lot of joint ventures, multiple joint ventures that come up, but none of them could really sustain for a long period of time. But if we look at the joint ventures done by IFCO, they are still on, and they have created IFCO to a very large extent. They have contributed also. So, how did you manage to get these joint ventures working when they were not working across practically all the sectors?
See, whenever there are joint ventures, it is in India or outside India. If we remember the core values, the interests of both the organization, anybody who becomes your joint venture partner, he comes to you to create a, a institution or create economic activity for the benefit of both. Now, if one tries to get more benefit out of what has been agreed, then comes the conflict. And I have always tried that even if I have to sacrifice a bit for tomorrow equality, it's better I will do it now than to create a conflict for minor matter. So, in once you develop a confidence between both the people, between your partners, if the confidence is shattered, then it is very difficult to survive those joint ventures. But if confidence remain, where you see what is point of view, their point of view, and respect their point of view also. But at the same time, what is required in your for you, if you are able to convince them also. So it's a question of continuous dialogue and continuous convincing, by which all the joint ventures can remain successful. And this is what we have tried always. We have not tried to impose our will. We have tried to convince that why it is needed in the interest of the organization.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, because some of the people I interacted with and I asked them about the failure of joint ventures, they said that most of the joint ventures are like corporate marriages, where the marriage continues as long as you have mutual respect. The day the mutual respect is over, divorce. But then I think you addressed to those issues wonderfully, and that is why we have seen that the two large corporations like IFCO and Tokyo, IFCO Tokyo joint
Tokyo
venture,
Marine.
yeah, that's amazing, because it is the one which has come up with the policies like Sankat-Haran Bima Yojana, which is praised by the United Nations as well. And that has given a lot of confidence to the farmers also. So you've done a lot of hand holding there. So if you throw some light on that, sir.
You see, when we went, as I said, IFCO, when we are growing, we realized that for us, providing fertilizer is not the only thing needed by the farmers. Farmers need something else also. The India is growing. Bharat is growing. So the farmers also need to be aware of what is happening. And so first we started looking at where we should start diversifying. We started looking that insurance is one sector where this rural India and farmers are practically unaware of them, other than some of them might be aware of some because of life insurance corporation, LIC, some LIC policies. Other than that, they had no knowledge of what is insurance. And when insurance, general insurance and life insurance was being liberalized, we immediately thought this is the best opportunity for IFCO to enter the general sector, general insurance sector. I didn't go for life because anyway, our farmers knew something about life. So I went for general insurance. And when I was doing joint ventures with our partners, I told them that please remember one thing. Our main aim is to try and serve the farmer to the maximum extent possible through this general insurance. Our interest is yes to make some reasonable profit, but profit is not the only interest. So if you are interested in with this philosophy, then please become our joint venture partner. And that is where Japanese came, because Japanese way of thinking is more or less like us. And Japanese cooperative sector is quite vibrant, like Indian cooperative sector. So they also knew on cooperatives. So that is how they came. And then the first thing we told them, first thing we want to start as soon as we start in our insurance corporation is that for each bag of urea or each bag of fertilizer when farmers buy, he gets 4,000 rupees of accident insurance. And that is where we call it Sankat Haran Bima Yojana. For which I said premium will not be paid by the farmer, but premium will be paid by IFCO. So immediately they understood that premium is not an issue. The insurance is done by them. I say subject to a maximum of 1 lakh rupee. Then up to 25 bag if we buy, so there's no unlimited liability. So that is where it became successful. And then one very senior officer of the government later asked me, isn't it a way of doing your advertisement? I said, no. In fact, if you look at it, I have 4 crore members. There are 11 crore farmers in the country. So what is that? I have less than 40%, while my production is only 30%. So anyway, our members' demand is more than what we are producing. So it's not a question of that. Later on, when Honorable Prime Minister of India, now Mr. Narendra Modi, Prime Minister, after he got elected, I had a chance meeting with him once, and he asked me this question: why did you start this Sankat Haran Bima, this Yojana? I explained it. He said, maybe it is for the sale. I explained him this same. He said, no, I'm going to start this insurance thing. What do you think? I said, that's very good. One of the best scheme is there. But so by the time he became Prime Minister, he knew what is our Sankat Haran Bima Yojana, and practically now everybody knows. Now there are a lot of people who are putting those insurance, general insurance. But when we started, we were the first. And we started in 2000. Year 2000, that is where we started. We got the license and we started our IFCO Tokyo General Insurance in year 2000.
And United Nations appreciated
Yes.
that effort a lot.
Because that's the largest non-life insurance policy anybody runs in the world.
Yes. So that is how the diversification strategy also was employed by IFCO. Sir, coming to the technology part of it, now the nanotechnology will be the next revolution. And today IFCO is working on fertilizers, agrochemicals, but tomorrow maybe it will be used in the sectors such as food packaging, nutraceuticals, and many others also. So that means IFCO will not remain confined to fertilizers or agriculture in future?
Well, you see, about in 2010 roughly, when we started realizing that chemical fertilizers now are doing more damage to the soil than actually providing the proper input, that is nutrient to the plants. And as the consumption is increasing, and the policies are not getting changed to cater to economic reality, but it is becoming a political tool for our rural masses and for our agriculture. We started working on different kind of way of weaning away farmers from the chemical fertilizer and taking them towards a combination of traditional and modern agriculture, and like you call fusion. We try to do fusion by way of bringing Save the Soil campaign. And the Save the Soil campaign for Hindi-speaking states, we call it Bhoom Bachao Abhiyan. And for non-Hindi speaking, it's called Save the Soil campaign. We did a lot of work on that. But I started realizing slowly that this is not a long-lasting solution. And then I started thinking that, the nanotechnologies are being used today in electronics, in chips, in computers, in supercomputers. It being used for our space technology, used in medical sciences. But why it is not being used in our agriculture? So we started working on this work of producing nanofertilizers. And I don't know how many of you are aware of what is 1 prill of urea. Have you seen ever 1 prill of urea? It's about a 1 millimeter round shape particle. Like if you have the sugar, if you've seen the crystal sugar, it is smaller than crystal sugar. If you break that into 55,000 parts, that's one nanoparticle. So what we did is finally we became successful on breaking that nitrogen particle of the urea into nanoparticles. And after breaking that nanoparticle, we have to get it shaped in the sense that we have to immediately coat it with something which can will not allow it to reverse back into a coagulation stage. So while doing that, first we did it with a animal-based hydrocarbon. But that animal-based hydrocarbon, we realized after a few months, is getting back to a coagulating state and come back to a solid mass. So then now we are doing it through, after that we did in the second part of the research that we went for plant-based hydrocarbon. And with plant-based hydrocarbon, we were successful in keeping the quality for about 2 years shelf life. With this, we also devised a way by which the surface area increases. So we started using it on the leaves. So as soon as you use on the leaves, then surface area increases, the nitrogen particles get absorbed into the leaf and go down. So Archimedes' principle comes and they go down the root. So go down the whole way from leaf to root instead of going from root to leaf. So urea was going through root to leaf. So urea became from ionic form, from a solid form, first dissolve, we provide energy for dissolving it, then use it for into getting into ionic forms, and then getting absorbed into the roots, and then go to again the Archimedes principle to the top. While we went to the truth, it's simple. So that is where the 4% of nitrogen in a 500 cc bottle, when you spray on it, it's equivalent to 45 kg of urea which you use. So immediately cost is cut. Immediately subsidy is out. Immediately water becomes non-pollutant. There's no pollution. because 95% of the nitrogen gets absorbed into the leaf. So there is nothing which is left in the soil. There's nothing, no air pollution. Because when you spray the urea, so there's the air pollution. And urea, is the biggest pollutant. In terms of fertilizer, carbon dioxide emission out of urea is the biggest. Ammonia emission is biggest. So NOx creation is biggest through the urea application. When you use urea, that's over. So that technology we got, then we use it for DAP and we got the same kind of technology. Now we are getting second stage. Because this nano urea which we brought reacts, it's a slow reaction. So reacts after 6 days. So farmer finds he has to wait 6 days for it to become green. So now we are bringing the second one, nano urea plus, which is 20% nitrogen. We'll launch it in February. And with all the macronutrients which are enriched. So the soil and the field would be practically do not need any of the solid fertilizers. And our idea is to erase the chemical fertilizer from our soil so that today the kind of product which we eat is practically growing out of chemicals. Number one. Number two, the pesticide. The second attempt is how to reduce these pesticides, the chemical pesticides, and go again into those biopesticides, where the role of the neem will come, which I will talk a little later if there's a time on that.
Right. We are completely running short of time. I have myself a lot of questions to ask you, sir. But we will keep it open to the audience now. In the event if the audience, anybody has a question, please raise your hand. Um,
Sir, I am Sunil Khankuje. I am a grandnephew of Dr. Pandurang Sadashiv Khankuje, whose statue was unveiled in Mexican Chapingo Agriculture University. I don't know how many people from this audience knows about Dr. Khankuje. He is known as the founder of Green Revolution way back before the Norman Borlaug came into picture. Sir, I have heard about you many times. You are working on the chemical fertilizers, right, going to normal organic things. But now there is a trend, I think, why we are not going in for vermiculture and natural pesticides for this particular thing that will enhance the cost effectiveness and plus the local population will not be put to a lot of expenses that may save in the expenses also.
No, I totally agree. Vermicompost should be used. I'm not saying that they should not be used. I said very first thing, traditional way of doing agriculture must be preserved and should be used. But also you need some plant nutrient because the way now the population is there, the way you need food grain production, the way you cannot afford to lose the even 10% of losing the yield. What I'm trying to do is, without sacrificing the yield, increase the produce the better quality of food grain, but use this vermicompost, use this good manure, use green manure. All that thing will add to your agricultural product to become better. But if we say that don't use chemical fertilizer at all, we'll get into the kind of Sri Lanka which went. Sri Lanka, 2 year back, they banned chemical fertilizers and they had complete collapse of agriculture and they had to airlift our nano urea to save their crop. That was the situation happened. So that we should be little alarmed, and that's why I'm saying I'm trying to replace solid fertilizer along with all those things which are needed.
Sir, I'm Dilip Kamdar, and I have read your book. And I would say it is not a joy of crisis, it's a joy of reading.
Thank you.
And I can, without any hesitation, I would like to say that you are the Bhishma Pitama of fertilizer industry in India. And why that name has not caught on, I don't know, but it's going to do that. Sir, having worked with many different governments throughout the last 30 years of your career, I know that most of the time the people who sit in that decision making chair have their own, what is in it for me kind of a interest first. How could you get decisions to your liking out of them? We would learn to know something out of that.
You see, I have written there, in every government I had problem. There's no government where I didn't have problem. But ultimately, in every system, when they realize the contribution is much more than what they think is the problem, then everybody at least at that level, anybody who's there at that high level, ultimately looks interest of the country. Second interest comes, the other interests come later. And that's my experience when if I am able to convince that government it is the interest of the country, then ultimately they all have supported me, regardless of whatever color they were carrying. And interestingly, I always say, cooperatives have got 7-color flag. So for me, it doesn't matter which color I'm going. I can always have the cap of that color. And I can always place that color. So for me, it doesn't matter. I don't carry any ideology. I carry only one ideology. Whether it is interest of my farmer and to my cooperators and my nation. These things are very clear in my mind. Then for me, carrying anything, I can talk to so people simultaneously. One this party, one that party. Because in IFCO, we have election every 5 years. Right now, we have started our election. It happens always along with parliament. And we have all elected members who comes, 1,000 elected members, like your member of parliament. Then out of them, they elect 21 directors. And all them of different parties. And we run a commercial activity. So for me, when they sit on my board, it doesn't matter which party they belong to. All of them make them think it's only one. Right now you're sitting is the interest of the farmer, the IFCO and the country.
Sir, every year during budget presentation, we come across a figure of fertilizer subsidy, and that quantum is usually very high. So, is it possible by any means or by any policy change, can we reduce it further?
I think, the way they ask the urea non-urea and all that which we are bringing, practically after that you don't need any subsidy. Zero subsidy. In next 4 or 5 years, the subsidy should be zero. So it will not contribute. It will add. In fact, you can become exportable. Export. Today also we are exporting nano fertilizers. Even to US is importing, and Mexico is importing. Of course, Sri Lanka and Nepal, anyway. Pakistan is talking about this in their channels completely. Tomorrow they may approach us to import our nano fertilizers. Brazil is importing. So Suriname is using it continuously. So there are many countries. You can become export surplus than import.
Yeah, thank you, sir. It was nice interacting with you and listening to you. As Dilip Bhaiya rightly said that you are a Bhishma Pitama of this industry, and that's a grand salute to you. And I would like to just put one question. When you were in the collaboration with the IFCO Tokyo, you said we define the philosophy first, and then we ask for the collaboration. So I would like to ask you, what is the one-line philosophy of your life? What is the one-line philosophy of your life?
One line.
Yeah. One line philosophy that can define your life.
How can I define my life? I think this lady should ask the question. She's the last one. She asked to ask something.
Hello, sir. My name is Neha Kai. I'm working in Vidarbha Cooperative Marketing Federation. My question is, what is the future prospects of fertilizer industries in India, sir?
I see very great. You see, the fertilizer industry in India will remain forever. Only its concept will change. Like urea can be used for many things, ammonia can be used for many things. As soon as your requirement reduces of solid fertilizers, oil prices will start crashing, gas prices will start crashing, even your petrol, diesel, these prices will come down because all depend upon how much we are importing, especially fertilizers. And fertilizers are guzzlers of hydrocarbons, fossil fuel. So this will happen. So again, the solid fertilizer industry will find different uses. Like you can convert these plants into green hydrogen plants, use them for transportation. You can start using urea as DEF, use them for pollution control, which are being used today in diesel engines, can be used even for petrol engines. So all those things will start happening. So solution, when there's a change in the technology, the solution also comes for the other technology.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we started, I said that this book is on the strategic management a lot. Whether you talk of market penetration, reaching to the final farmer, whether you talk of product development, new products are being developed, which will eventually lead to exports, not subsidy, markets being developed, diversification, supply chain management. Senegal and Jordan are the classical examples that you mentioned, mergers, acquisition, value chain analysis, all that you see in this book. And that's why I said that this book is book on strategic management. Most of you can read this book even from that perspective as well. But for me personally, it has been honor and privilege, and I thank VLF for that they gave me the opportunity to interact with the strategy personified, Dr. Uday Shankar Awasthi. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us here. It was great honor having you here. I believe, as he said, and you as well added to that, he's a Bhishma Pitama. So, and I say strategy personified. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for this engaging session. I would like to now invite Mr. Sachin Jagirdar to present a token of appreciation to Dr. Awasthi. This is a specially made frame of a monument in Nagpur. Thank you, Dr. Ashutosh, for this wonderful session. For guests wishing to have their copies signed by the author or desirous of having a word with him, please head to the signing desks. You will find them at the lawn behind the author's lounge, on the ground floor, or opposite Laburnum on this floor. Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session.